My breath caught in my throat when Luca jerked my hand away and shoved open the car door. "Get out, Riley. Now." I couldn't move. The rain was pouring harder. The road was empty, and my fiancé, was looking at me like I was some kind of mistake he needed to erase. His eyes held none of the love that had been there on our first day of college. When he'd caught my omega scent for the first time and decided right then that he wanted to claim me. Now there was only anger, exhaustion, and maybe hatred too. "Luca, please." My voice trembled. "Did I do something?" "You didn't do anything, Riley. That's exactly the problem." He slammed his hand against the steering wheel. "You just exist. Weak, clingy, and boring. Even your scent doesn't attract me anymore." Those words cut through me like knives. My bonding mark, the one Luca had given me himself a year ago, started burning as if his rejection was physically tearing me apart. I slowly began to climb out of the seat, gripping my jacket with shaking hands. Luca didn't even look back, as if I'd already been erased from his life. When I stood on the road and the car doors slammed shut, it felt like my entire world had just closed on me. Without hesitation, Luca drove forward. The red taillights disappeared into the rain, and I was left alone, soaked, broken, and feeling the pain in my bonding mark intensify with every passing second. I stood at the edge of the road, wondering what to do next, when suddenly another car pulled up. Black, sleek, expensive. The window rolled down and a face appeared. Sharp jawline, dark eyes, and an unmistakable Enigma presence that made the air feel heavy. My omega instincts recognized it instantly. This wasn't just any alpha. This was the kind of power only Enigmas possessed, and it was overwhelming me. "Are you all right?" His voice was smooth, but it carried both concern and authority. I couldn't move. This was the man Luca hated most. Easton Vale business rival. Enigma and the city's most dangerous person. And he'd just watched Luca abandon me here. I tried to pull myself together, but my voice wouldn't come out. I'm fine," I managed to say, though my voice was broken and my entire body was shaking. Easton's gaze scanned me, from my drenched clothes to my trembling hands. Then he gestured toward the back seat. "Get in. You're getting soaked and this place isn't safe." I knew this was wrong. Luca had always told me to stay away from Easton Vale. He was dangerous, ruthless, and used people for his own gain. But his scent, cedarwood and rain, made my breath catch, and my omega instincts felt calm for the first time in months. This scent was completely different from Luca's aggressive one, and I couldn't control myself. I got into the car, not knowing that this decision would change my entire life. The silence in the car was deafening, broken only by the sound of rain and my pounding heartbeat. I didn't understand what was happening. 1 second I'd been with Luca, my fiancé, my alpha, and now I was with his biggest enemy. My mind refused to accept that Luca had actually left me. When we reached the building, I was stunned. This wasn't just any apartment building, it was in the city's most expensive area. Standing in the elevator, I noticed that Easton hadn't asked me any questions or demanded any explanations. He just stayed quiet, his strong presence dominating the entire space. We walked down a pristine hallway, our footsteps echoing off the marble floors. I kept stealing glances at him, trying to understand why he'd stopped for me. Enigmas didn't just help random omegas out of kindness. There had to be a reason, and that thought scared me more than I wanted to admit. When we entered, the penthouse was like another world entirely. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the city lights, and the atmosphere was so clean and controlled it felt like emotions weren't allowed here. Everything was in its place, perfectly arranged. Easton removed his coat and handed me a soft towel. "Dry yourself. You'll get sick if you stay wet like this." I hesitated, but he looked at me with that gaze, commanding yet oddly protective. My omega nature automatically started to respond, which made me uncomfortable. This was wrong. My bond was with Luca, no matter how broken it had become. I took the towel and started drying my hair, but my hands were shaking. "You're Luca Hale's fiancé, right?" Easton asked, sitting on the sofa and pouring himself a glass of whiskey. His voice was casual, but I could see a strange intensity in his eyes. My heart pounded. Was. Maybe not anymore. A slight smirk appeared on Easton's lips. "I see. So he officially left you." I didn't say anything. My silence was answer enough. I placed my hand on my neck where Luca's bonding mark was, and it was burning. Luca is a complete fool, Easton said, bringing the glass to his lips. To reject an Omega like that, especially someone like you. My breath stopped. You don't know me. I know enough. He looked into my eyes, and I felt like he was seeing straight into my soul. Riley Carter, Luca's prized possession. Top Omega at university. And now, rejected and broken. Hearing this made my anger flare. I put the towel down and stood up straight. You didn't bring me here out of sympathy. No. Easton put down his glass and slowly approached me. His scent was overwhelming my Omega senses, and I wanted to step back but my legs wouldn't move. I brought you here because Luca doesn't deserve you, and I want to show him what his biggest mistake was. My heart started racing. Meaning, Easton took my chin in his fingers, forcing me to look at him. His touch was gentle but firm. Meaning that you're my responsibility now, Riley. And when Luca sees this, he's lost the biggest battle of his life. I couldn't tell if I should be scared or feel something else, because Easton's touch had a dominance that Luca never had, but without the cruelty Luca showed. This was different, confusing. Easton released my chin and stepped back. The bathroom is there. Fresh towels are in the closet. We'll talk tomorrow morning. He gestured toward the bedroom. You can sleep in the guest room. Don't worry about anything. I hesitantly walked toward the guest room, but when I looked back, Easton was standing by the window, looking out at the city. His body language held no threat, just a quiet strength that made me feel safe. And that feeling confused me even more. That night I didn't sleep at all, touching my bonding mark and wondering what direction my life was heading in now. The next morning, I woke up to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. For a moment, I forgot where I was, and then everything came rushing back. Luca's rejection, the rain, Easton's car. I sat up slowly, my body aching from emotional exhaustion more than physical strain. I found clean clothes laid out on a chair near the bed. Simple but clearly expensive. They fit perfectly, which made me wonder how Easton had known my size. The thought made me uncomfortable, but I was grateful not to wear yesterday's rain-soaked outfit. When I emerged from the guest room, the smell of coffee hit me immediately. Easton was in the kitchen, moving with surprising ease for someone who seemed so intimidating. He glanced up when I entered. Coffee? He offered, already pouring a second cup. Thank you, I mumbled, taking the cup with both hands. The warmth felt good against my palms. We stood in silence for a moment, and I found myself studying him more carefully in the morning light. He was tall, probably 6'3", with the kind of build that came from disciplined training rather than vanity. His dark hair was slightly messy, like he'd run his fingers through it while working, and there were faint shadows under his eyes suggesting he hadn't slept well either. Why did you help me? I finally asked, breaking the silence. You could have just driven past. Easton leaned against the counter, considering his words carefully. Let's just say I don't believe in leaving people stranded in the rain, especially when they've been thrown away like garbage. The bluntness of his words stung, but he wasn't wrong. That's exactly what Luca had done, treated me like something disposable. You and Luca are enemies, I continued, needing to understand. Bringing me here, helping me, it puts you in a complicated position, does it? Easton's eyes met mine, and there was something calculating in his gaze. Or does it put Luca in a complicated position? I set down my coffee cup, my hands starting to shake again. So this is about revenge? About getting back at him? Partially, Easton admitted, and I appreciated his honesty even if it hurt. But not in the way you think. I'm not going to use you as a pawn, Riley. I'm offering you something else entirely, which is freedom. He pushed off from the counter and walked closer, but stopped at a respectful distance. Luca kept you in a cage, even if you couldn't see the bars. He controlled what you wore, who you spoke to, what career path you could take. He made you believe you were weak so you'd never realize your own strength. His words resonated with something deep inside me, the truth I'd been avoiding for years. Luca had always made decisions for me, always insisted he knew what was best. I'd thought it was love, but now, how do you know all this? I asked quietly. Because I've seen it before. I've watched Luca operate in business the same way he operates in relationships. Dominate, control, discard. When convenient. Easton's jaw tightened. And because I went through something similar once, this revelation surprised me. An enigma as powerful as Easton, controlled by someone else? It seemed impossible. My former partner was an alpha, he continued, his voice taking on a distant quality. Back before I fully came into my enigma abilities, they made me feel like I needed them to survive, that I was nothing without their approval. When they left, I almost didn't recover. What changed? I whispered. I realized that their opinion of me didn't define my worth, that I could build a life on my own terms. He looked directly at me. That's what I'm offering you, Riley. A shin to discover who you are without Luca's shadow. I wanted to believe him, but years of conditioning made me hesitate. What do you get out of this? Easton smiled, but it wasn't cruel. Honestly, the satisfaction of watching Luca realize what he lost. But more than that, I see potential in you that's been buried. I'd like to help you uncover it. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed on the counter where I'd left it last night. We both looked at it. Luca's name flashed on the screen. Don't answer, Easton said softly. But it wasn't a command. Not until you're ready. I stared at the phone until it stopped ringing. The relief I felt was overwhelming and terrifying at the same time. I want to show you something, Easton said, gesturing toward his home office. If you're interested. Curious despite myself, I followed him. The office was impressive. Walls lined with books, a massive desk covered in papers and laptops, windows overlooking the city. But what caught my attention was the business plan laid out on a side table. What is this? I asked, moving closer. A project I've been developing, a sustainable housing initiative for underserved communities. He stood beside me, not touching but close enough that I could feel his warmth. I need someone with a fresh perspective to help analyze the market data. Someone smart enough to see patterns others might miss. I looked at him in disbelief. You're offering me a job. I'm offering you an opportunity. What you make of it is up to you. I studied the documents, my business degree finally feeling useful after years of Luca telling me I didn't need to work. The numbers were complex, but I could see the vision behind them. This wasn't just about profit. It was about making a real difference. Why me? I asked again, needing to understand. You could hire anyone, because I've been watching you longer than you realize, Riley. At those charity events Luca dragged you to, I saw how you analyzed situations, how you noticed details others missed. You have a mind that's been wasted on playing the perfect Omega trophy. His words should have offended me, but instead they sparked something I thought had died. Ambition, purpose, the desire to be more than decorative. If I agree to this, I said slowly, I need to be clear about boundaries. I won't be anyone's possession again. Agreed. Easton extended his hand formally. This is a professional arrangement, Riley. What happens beyond that is entirely your choice. I looked at his outstretched hand, seeing the calluses that suggested he worked with his hands despite his wealth. The strength in his fingers tempered by control. Taking his hand would mean stepping into unknown territory, leaving behind the familiar pain for uncertain possibility. I took his hand. His grip was firm but not crushing, respectful of my autonomy. Then let's begin, he said, and something in his smile suggested this decision would change both our lives in ways neither of us could predict yet. As we started discussing the project, my phone buzzed again and again. Luca wasn't going to let go easily. But for the first time in years, I didn't feel the automatic pull to respond, to apologize, to make myself smaller. Maybe Easton was right. Maybe this was my chance at freedom. I woke up screaming. The pain in my neck was unbearable, like someone was branding me with hot iron over and over again. My bonding mark, Luca's mark, felt like it was eating through my skin and I couldn't breathe through the agony. Within seconds, Easton burst through the guest room door, his hair disheveled and eyes alert despite the early hour. He took one look at me and his expression darkened. How long has it been this bad? He demanded, sitting on the edge of the bed. Since yesterday afternoon, I gasped, pressing my hand against the mark. But it's worse now. So much worse. He carefully moved my hand away and examined my neck. His sharp intake of breath told me everything I needed to know. Riley, this is rejection sickness in its final stages. Your body is shutting down because the bond is incomplete, broken but not officially severed. His voice was tense with urgency. If we don't get you medical treatment today, you could die. No. I pulled away from him, panic rising. I can't go to a hospital. If people find out that Luca rejected me, I'll be labeled as defective. No one will hire an ekig who couldn't keep their alpha. I'll be worthless. You're not worthless, Easton said firmly, but I could barely hear him over the roaring in my ears. You don't understand. Tears were streaming down my face now from pain and fear and shame. In Omega society, being rejected is the worst thing that can happen. It means something is fundamentally wrong with you. I'd rather die than live with that stigma. Easton grabbed my shoulders, forcing me to look at him. Listen to me very carefully. That stigma is built on lies told by alphas who want to control omegas. The bond breaking doesn't mean you're defective. It means Luca was too weak to maintain it properly, but none of that matters if you're dead, Riley. Let me help you. Another wave of pain hit me and I collapsed against him, unable to fight anymore. He caught me easily, cradling me against his chest. I'm scared, I whispered. I know, but I promise you won't go through this alone. He carried me to his car, moving quickly but carefully to avoid jostling me. The drive to the private clinic felt endless, each bump in the road sending fresh waves of agony through my system. Easton kept one hand on mine the entire time, his thumb drawing small circles on my palm, a grounding touch that kept me from spiraling into complete panic. The clinic was discreet, expensive, and clearly accustomed to dealing with complicated bonding situations. The doctor who examined me was a middle-aged beta woman with kind eyes and no-nonsense demeanor. Stage 4 rejection sickness, she confirmed after a quick examination. I'm surprised you're still conscious. We need to start the severance procedure immediately. Will it hurt? I asked, hating how small my voice sounded. She didn't sugarcoat it. Yes, quite a lot. Breaking a bond that's been in place for over a year is going to feel like tearing part of your soul away. But the alternative is death within 48 hours, so we don't have time to wait. I looked at Easton, who'd been standing quietly in the corner. He moved closer immediately. Do you want me to stay? He asked. I nodded, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. The procedure was worse than anything I could have imagined. The doctor administered a series of injections directly into my bonding mark, each one feeling like liquid fire being pumped into my veins. I could feel the connection to Luca being chemically dissolved, and with it every memory we'd shared seemed to surface and shatter simultaneously. I remembered our first kiss, overlaid with the memory of him criticizing my kissing technique afterward. Our engagement tainted by his comment that I should lose weight before the wedding. Every tender moment had been poisoned by his subtle cruelty, and I was only seeing it clearly now as the bond released its hold on my perception. Easton held my hand through all of it, occasionally wiping the sweat from my forehead or murmuring words I couldn't quite make out. But that somehow helped anyway. When I screamed, he didn't flinch. When I begged him to stop, he told me I was strong enough to endure it. The whole thing took nearly 3 hours. When it was finally over, I felt hollow, like someone had scooped out my insides and left just the shell. The doctor bandaged my neck where the mark had been, now just raw, damaged skin that would eventually heal to a faint scar. The physical recovery will take about a week, she explained, handing Easton a bag of medications and instructions. The emotional recovery, that's harder to predict. Some omegas bounce back quickly, others struggle for months. He'll need support, rest, and someone to watch for signs of bonding depression. He'll have everything he needs, Easton assured her. On the drive back, I couldn't stop touching my neck where the mark used to be. It felt strange, wrong, like a missing tooth you can't stop probing with your tongue. How do you feel? Easton asked quietly. Empty, I admitted, but also lighter. I don't know how to explain it. You don't have to explain anything right now. Just rest. But I couldn't rest. My mind was racing with questions and fears and uncertainties. What happens now? I don't have anywhere to go. All my things are at Luca's apartment, and I can't go back there. My job was through his company, which I obviously can't return to. I have some savings, but not enough for Riley. Easton's calm voice cut through my spiraling thoughts. You're staying with me until you're fully recovered. After that, we'll figure out next steps together. You're not alone in this. Why are you being so kind to me? The question burst out before I could stop it. You barely know me. I'm your enemy's discarded omega. I'm a liability. Easton was quiet for a long moment, his eyes on the road. When he finally spoke, his voice was softer than I'd heard before. 5 years ago, I went through something similar. Different circumstances, but the same core experience. Having someone make you believe you're nothing without them, then proving it by leaving. I had no one to help me through it. I had to claw my way back to stability alone, and it nearly destroyed me. He glanced at me briefly. I don't want anyone else to go through that if I can prevent it. Especially not someone who clearly has so much more to offer than they've been allowed to show. His words settled over me like a warm blanket, and for the first time since Luca had pushed me out of the car, I felt something other than pain or fear. I felt hope. Back at the penthouse, Easton helped me to the guest room and made sure I had water, medication, and everything I might need within reach. As he turned to leave, I caught his sleeve. "Thank you," I said. "For everything. For not letting me die. For seeing me as more than just a rejected omega." He smiled, and it transformed his entire face from intimidating to almost gentle. "Get some rest, Riley. Tomorrow we start building your new life." As I drifted off to sleep, medicated and exhausted, I realized that the bond breaking had done more than just sever my connection to Luca. It had severed my connection to the person I'd been pretending to be for him. Now I had to figure out who I actually was. And somehow with Easton's help, that didn't seem quite so terrifying anymore. The following days passed in a strange, gentle rhythm as I recovered in Easton's penthouse. He was attentive without being suffocating, giving me space when I needed it, appearing when I craved company without me having to ask. This dynamic was entirely new to me. Luca had always been controlling, dictating what I should wear, who I could see, what career paths were appropriate for his omega. But Easton was different in ways I was only beginning to understand. One morning, when I finally felt strong enough to leave the guest room for more than meals, Easton invited me to his study. The room was impressive, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a massive oak desk and windows that framed the city skyline like a painting. "I want you to work for my company," he said without preamble. I stared at him, certain I'd misheard. "What? You're skilled, Riley. You have a degree in business management, and I've seen your university records. You were at the top of your class." He leaned against his desk, arms crossed but posture relaxed. "Stop wasting your life being someone's accessory, especially now that you're free to choose your own path." The offer shocked me. I was just an omega in our society. We were second-class citizens, especially those who'd been bonded. Finding employment was difficult, gaining respect nearly impossible. But Easton was treating me like my gender didn't matter, like I was just another qualified professional. "But what will people say?" I hesitated, already hearing the whispers. "They'll assume I'm your pet plaything." Easton finished my sentence. "People will always talk, Riley. The question is whether you'll live your life according to their narrow thinking or according to your own capabilities." His words struck something deep inside me. I thought about having my own career countless times, but Luca had always refused. He'd said his omega didn't need to work, that it would damage his reputation to a partner who couldn't be supported properly. I'll try," I said, and for the first time, I saw a genuine smile transform Easton's usually serious face. The next morning, I started working at Easton's company. My first day was terrifying. Every eye in the office followed me, whispers trailing in my wake. Rumors had already spread that I was Easton's new pet, but nobody dared say anything to my face. I was nervous, my hands shaking as I settled at the desk assigned to me, but I forced myself to focus on the work. Easton gave me a small project, market analysis and strategy proposal for an upcoming expansion. I threw myself into it, working late into the night, researching every angle, double-checking every number. When I finally presented my findings a week later, the conference room fell silent. My ideas were solid, backed by extensive data and innovative thinking that challenged their current approach. After the meeting, Easton called me to his office. "You did excellent work, Riley. Truly exceptional." My heart swelled with pride. For the first time in years, someone was recognizing my actual abilities, not just my omega status or my connection to an alpha. Over the following weeks, I handled more projects, each one more complex than the last. Easton never gave me easy assignments. He expected the same level of professionalism from me as he did from everyone else. And that was exactly what I needed. Gradually, the office staff began taking me seriously. They saw that I was doing real work, contributing actual value, not just decorating the space. One evening, when we were both working late, Easton made coffee for us both. We sat in comfortable silence, each focused on our respective files. In moments like these, I realized how different being with Easton was compared to being with Luca. There was no tension, no walking on eggshells, no constant fear of saying the wrong thing. "What are you thinking about?" Easton asked suddenly, looking up from his laptop. "Nothing important," I said, but he saw through me immediately. "Luca?" I nodded slowly. I was thinking about how many years I wasted in that relationship. He constantly put me down, made me feel small, and I just accepted it. I thought that was what love looked like. Easton stood and came to stand beside my chair, placing a hand on my shoulder. "You can't change the past, Riley, but you can build your future. And you're already doing that." His touch brought comfort, and I was beginning to realize my feelings for Easton were shifting from gratitude to something deeper. Something that scared me. But was I ready to trust someone again? To open myself up to potential heartbreak? The peaceful moment shattered the next morning when I arrived at the office to find Luca standing in the lobby, radiating fury and causing a scene that had security on high alert. He burst past the guards like he owned the building. Security tried to stop him, but he used his alpha authority to push through, and my heart hammered in my chest, a mixture of fear and old, conditioned responses I hated myself for still having. "Riley, what is this nonsense? You're working for him?" Luca shouted across the office floor. Everyone stopped working, all eyes turning to watch the drama unfold. I tried to ignore him and headed toward my desk, but Luca grabbed my arm. His touch felt alien now, uncomfortable and possessive in a way that made my skin crawl. "I need to talk to you. Right now." "I have nothing to say to you," I said, trying to pull my arm free. But his grip was iron tight. That's when Easton emerged from his office. His Enigma presence filled the entire room, and I could see people actually stepping back in instinctive submission. Easton moved between us, removing Luca's hand from my arm firmly but without violence. "You have no right to touch him. He's not your property anymore," Easton said, his voice low but carrying clear danger. Luca looked at me, and for the first time I saw genuine guilt and regret in his eyes. "Riley, please, I want you back. I made a mistake. I can't function without you." Part of me, the old, naive Riley, wanted to melt at those words. These were the words I'd wanted to hear for years. But then I looked at Easton, who was silently waiting for my decision without applying any pressure, and I touched the place where my bonding mark used to be. Now empty, pain-free, healed. "No, Luca," I said, hearing strength in my voice for the first time. "Not anymore. You rejected me when you decided I wasn't useful to you. Now you want me back, because you've seen I'm happy with someone else." "Happy? With him?" Luca turned his anger toward Easton. "He's using you, Riley. Enigmas are heartless. I'm trying to save you." "Save me?" I actually laughed, though it was bitter. "You threw me out of your car in the rain. You abandoned me when I needed you most. Easton picked me up, gave me respect, and offered me the freedom you never could." Luca's face turned red. "This is all part of his plan. He's taking revenge on me through you." Easton took one step forward, and his dominance was so overwhelming that Luca involuntarily stepped back, his alpha biology automatically submitting to the Enigma. "Riley isn't a pawn in any game, and if you touch him or try to disturb him again, I will systematically dismantle everything you've built. Your business deals, your reputation, your place in this city, all of it. This is a promise. Luca, don't test me." Security finally escorted Luca out, but his final look at me was filled with anger, hurt, and perhaps a trace of hatred. When he was gone, the office remained in awkward silence. Easton turned to me. "Are you all right?" I nodded, though my hands were shaking. He guided me to his office, closed the door, and handed me water. "You did well," he said, sitting across from me. "Only weak people take back their own decisions." "But I am weak," I admitted, my voice breaking slightly. "Luca was right about that. I'm clingy, I'm boring, Stop." Easton's eyes blazed with an intensity I hadn't seen before. "You need to understand that Luca manipulated you. He made you feel weak so you'd stay dependent on him. That's the classic tactic of controlling alphas. By putting you down, he felt superior." His words settled over me like a revelation. Had Luca really controlled me for years just to hide his own insecurities? Easton moved closer, close enough that his Enigma scent surrounded me, strong, intoxicating, and safe. "You're not weak, Riley. You were just in the wrong hands." But now you have to tease whether you'll recognize your own strength. My heartbeat accelerated. Easton's hand came to rest against my cheek, gently as if I were something precious. Nobody had ever touched me like this, with respect, with care. I won't use you, Riley. And I won't play games with your emotions. But if you're willing, he paused, searching for the right words, I can give you the respect you've always deserved. I'll treat you as an equal partner, not as someone's possession. I understood what he was offering. This wasn't just about work or revenge. Easton was taking me seriously, an omega who society normally ignored. And maybe he liked me the way I was beginning to like him. I don't know, I whispered. I'm scared, Easton. What if it happens again? Then I'll be here, he said, taking my hand. But I can't promise you'll never be hurt. I can only promise I won't hurt you intentionally. And if I ever do, you're free to leave. You have freedom, Riley. Always. Those words were exactly what I needed to hear. I looked into his eyes and allowed myself to move closer, slowly, carefully. When our foreheads touched, I felt that this was right, terrifying. But right. The next few weeks settled into a rhythm I'd never experienced before. Easton and I maintained professionalism at the office. But at the penthouse, something else was developing. He was courting me properly, taking me to dinners, watching movies together, having late-night conversations where we shared our pasts, our fears, our dreams. For the first time in my life, I felt emotionally connected to someone in a way that felt healthy and balanced. But Luca wasn't finished. He began targeting Easton's business with calculated precision. Deals were falling through, investors were backing out, and rumors circulated that Easton had illegally claimed me and was forcing me to work for him. Every attack was designed to hurt Easton financially and damage his reputation. I don't want you caught in this mess, I told Easton one night as we reviewed the latest financial reports, showing significant losses. We were in the living room, papers spread across the coffee table. This is all happening because of me. Maybe I should talk to Luca, try to make him understand. Absolutely not, Easton said firmly, taking my hand. Riley, this isn't your fault. Luca is insecure because he lost you. He's not hurting me, he's destroying himself. And I won't let you go back to him. He'll manipulate you, but your business will recover. I've survived worse. Easton pulled me closer. You're more important to me than any business deal. Those words filled my heart, but I knew Luca wouldn't stop. And I was right. One night, while Easton was at a late meeting, someone knocked on the penthouse door. Thinking it might be a delivery, I opened it without checking, and Luca forced his way inside. You were mine, Riley. Mine, he shouted, backing me against the wall. And you left me for that monster. You left me, I shot back, fear mixing with anger but holding my ground. You threw me out in the rain. Luca grabbed my collar. His scent had turned toxic, possessive, violent, completely unhinged. Then I'll take you back, by force if necessary. You're my omega. No. I tried to push his hands away. I'm not anyone's property. He gripped me tighter and I could see he'd lost all control. Real fear shot through me, the kind that reaches your soul. But then the door opened and Easton walked in. His Enigma presence flooded the room, so intense that Luca's grip loosened involuntarily. Easton's eyes held a rage I'd never witnessed before, but it was controlled, calculated, and far more terrifying because of that control. Let go, Easton said, his voice deadly quiet. Now, Luca released me but wasn't ready to surrender. This is war, Easton, and I will get Riley back. Easton took one step forward, and his dominance was so overwhelming that Luca had to step back, his alpha biology automatically submitting to the Enigma's superior nature. Riley is not your property, and if you touch him again, I will destroy everything you've built. Every business deal, your reputation, your standing in this city, all of it gone. This is a promise, Luca, and you know I keep my promises. For the first time, genuine fear appeared on Luca's face. He understood Easton wasn't bluffing. He left, but not before shouting, "This isn't over." When the door closed, I collapsed, emotionally drained. Easton caught me immediately, guiding me to the couch and sitting beside me. "Are you hurt? Did he harm you?" "No," I said, though my hands were trembling. I didn't realize he could be this dangerous." Easton pulled me into his arms, protective and warm. "I'm here, he'll never hurt you. I promise. That night I slept beside Easton for the first time, truly close to another person. And that night I realized the feelings I'd been developing for him were real. This wasn't gratitude. This was love. The next morning Easton made an official proposal, not for bonding or claiming but for genuine courtship. We stood on the balcony, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of gold and pink. "I want to give you time, Riley," Easton said, holding my hand, "because you deserve to be loved with respect. I'll never force you and I won't bond with you the way Luca did. When you're ready, if you ever are, we can discuss that step. For now, I just want to be with you, to know you and to give you the respect you deserve." Tears fell from my eyes. For the first time, someone saw me as a complete person, not just an omega. For the first time, someone valued my choices. "I want to be with you too, Easton," I said, looking into his eyes. "You've given me strength I never knew I had. You've given me the respect I deserved. And I've fallen in love with you." Easton's face softened with the most genuine smile I'd seen from him. He drew me close and touched his forehead to mine. "I love you too, Riley. And I'll remind you of that every single day." When we kissed, slow, gentle, respectful, I felt like I'd finally come home. This intimacy was nothing like what I'd had with Luca. This was love between equals, not between possessor and possession. Over the following months, Luca's attacks gradually ceased. Perhaps he finally accepted his defeat, or maybe he'd moved on with his life. Either way, I stopped looking back. Easton and I allowed our relationship to grow naturally. Never rushing, never pressuring. We became partners in every sense of the word. At work, I'd been promoted to head of strategic development, a position I'd earned through merit, not connections. The respect from colleagues felt earned and genuine. At home, we built a life together that felt right. We cooked meals side by side, debated over movies, shared quiet mornings with coffee and newspapers. Simple things that I'd never experienced with Luca, who'd always needed to be the center of attention. One evening, about 10 months after Luca had thrown me out of his car, Easton and I attended a charity gala, the same kind of event where Luca used to parade me around like a trophy. But tonight was different. Easton introduced me to everyone as his partner, never as my omega or any other possessive term. He listened when I spoke, valued my opinions, and made it clear we were equals. During the event, I saw Luca across the room with a new omega. The young man looked nervous, constantly checking Luca's reactions, adjusting his behavior to please him. I recognized that anxiety. I'd lived it for years. Luca's eyes met mine across the crowded room. For a moment, something passed between us, acknowledgement of what we'd been and acceptance of what we'd never be again. Then he looked away and I felt nothing. No pain, no longing, no regret. Just nothing. "You okay?" Easton murmured beside me, his hand warm on my lower back. "More than okay," I said honestly. "I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." Later that night, back at the penthouse, I found myself thinking about everything that had changed. Almost a year ago, I'd been broken, abandoned, convinced I was worthless. Now I had a career I loved, respect I'd earned, and a partner who truly valued me. "Easton?" I said, finding him on the balcony overlooking the city. "I want to talk about bonding." He turned to me, surprise evident on his face. "Riley, there's no rush. I meant what I said about giving you time. I know. And that's exactly why I'm ready." I moved closer, taking his hands in mine. With Luca, the bond was forced. I agreed because I thought that's what you did when someone claimed to love you. But now I understand what a real bond should be. A choice made freely by two people who respect and trust each other. Easton studied my face carefully. "Are you absolutely certain? Because once we bond, it's not something to take lightly. I want you to be completely sure." "I've never been more sure of anything." I smiled up at him. "You've shown me what real love looks like. You've given me space to become who I'm meant to be. You've tried to control me or make me smaller. That's the kind of partner I want to bond with if you'll have me." His answer came in the form of a kiss that held promise, commitment, and joy. When we finally pulled apart, both of us were smiling. "We'll do this properly," Easton said. "Not rushed, not forced. We'll plan it together, make it meaningful." "Together," I agreed. "The way everything should be." The bonding ceremony happened 6 weeks later, small and intimate with just a few close friends. Unlike my first bonding with Luca, which had been a grand public display designed to show off his prized Omega. This ceremony was about us, about the commitment we were making to each other as equals. When Easton placed his bonding mark on my neck, I felt no pain, no fear, no doubt, just warmth spreading through my entire being, a connection that felt right on every level. And when I marked him in return because this bond was mutual, not one-sided, I saw tears in his eyes. "I never thought I'd find this," he whispered against my skin. "Real partnership, real love." "Neither did I said, holding him close. But we found each other. The months that followed brought new challenges. Building a life together, navigating business pressures, dealing with society's occasional judgment about our unconventional relationship. But we faced everything together, making decisions jointly, supporting each other through difficulties. One year after the night Luca had thrown me out of his car, I stood on the same balcony where Easton had first proposed courtship. The city sprawled below, full of lights and possibilities. Easton joined me, wrapping his arms around me from behind. "What are you thinking about? How much has changed?" I said, leaning back against him. "A year ago I thought my life was over. I thought being rejected meant I was worthless. And now I know that rejection was the best thing that could have happened. Because it led me here to you, to this life, to understanding my own worth." Easton turned me around to face him. "You know what I think? I think you always had that worth. You just needed the space to see it yourself." He was right. Luca hadn't made me weak. I'd always had strength. I just hadn't been allowed to use it. "I love you," I said simply. "I love you too," Easton replied. "And I'm going to spend the rest of our lives making sure you never forget your worth." As we stood there bonded and equal, I finally understood the truth that had taken me so long to learn. Luca had thrown me out of his car to watch me fall, but Easton had picked me up so I could fly. And now finally I was soaring free, respected, loved, and completely, utterly whole.